November 30th, 1808, the Somosierra Pass, Spain. Napoleon Bonaparte stares up through the freezing fog at 16 Spanish cannons blocking his road to Madrid. For hours, his infantry has tried to take this pass. Every attack has failed. The cannons keep firing. His men keep dying. An aide returns from the front lines with a grim report. "Sire, it is impossible. The artillery fire is too intense." Colonel Puree. Napoleon's response will echo through history. "Impossible? I don't know that word. Nothing is impossible for my Poles." Napoleon Bonaparte. What he orders them to do next violates every rule of warfare. Cavalry does not charge artillery, not head-on, not uphill, not into a narrow pass where there is no room to maneuver. But Napoleon gives the order anyway, and what happens in a matter of minutes will become legend. To understand why Napoleon would gamble everything on such a desperate charge, we need to go back 4 months, to the moment the myth of French invincibility shattered. July 1808, Bailén, southern Spain. For the first time since Napoleon seized power, an entire French corps surrendered to the enemy. General Dupont's 18,000 men laid down their arms before a Spanish army that Europe had dismissed as obsolete. The shockwave was immediate. Across Europe, Napoleon's enemies took notice. If the French could be beaten in Spain, perhaps they could be beaten elsewhere. In Madrid, Joseph Bonaparte, Napoleon's brother, newly installed as King of Spain, fled the capital after barely 2 weeks on the throne. The Spanish called their uprising the War of Independence. Napoleon called it something else, an ulcer that had to be cut out before it infected the entire empire. By autumn, the emperor had assembled 200,000 of his finest troops. He would lead them personally. He would crush the Spanish rebellion, restore his brother to the throne, and remind Europe what it meant to face the Grande Armée. The campaign moved with terrifying speed. Burgos fell, then Espinosa, then Gamonal. One Spanish army after another was swept aside. By late November, only one obstacle remained between Napoleon and Madrid, the Sierra de Guadarrama Mountains. And the narrowest, most treacherous route through those mountains was the Somosierra Pass. General Benito de San Juan knew this was his only chance. He couldn't defeat Napoleon in open battle. No Spanish army had managed that. But here, in this natural choke point, the rules changed. He positioned 16 cannons in 4 batteries, staggered up the mountainside. Each battery covered the approach to the one above. 9,000 troops, regulars and militia, guarded the guns. A single stone bridge at the base of the pass created the ultimate killing ground. On paper, the position was impregnable. Military doctrine was clear. Cavalry never charges prepared artillery. The mathematics were brutal. A cannon firing canister shot, hundreds of musket balls packed into a single round, could turn a charging squadron into a carpet of dead horses and men in seconds. San Juan believed the pass would hold for days, long enough for reinforcements, long enough for winter to do what Spanish arms could not. He was wrong, but not because his plan was flawed, because Napoleon refused to follow the rules. 8 o'clock in the morning. Marshal Victor orders the advance. The 96th Line Regiment moves up the main road in column formation, the only formation the narrow pass allows. Behind them, 2 more regiments begin the agonizing climb up the rocky slopes on either flank, hoping to outmaneuver the Spanish guns. They don't get far. The 1st Spanish battery opens fire at the stone bridge. Canister tears through the French column. Men scream. Horses collapse. Within minutes, the attack stalls. The survivors take cover behind rocks and the bodies of their comrades. On the flanks, progress is even slower. The 9th Light Infantry, veterans who called themselves the Incomparable, struggle up slopes slick with ice. Every few yards, a Spanish skirmisher fires from behind a boulder, then disappears. The flanking maneuver that should take 30 minutes takes 3 hours. Napoleon watches from below, and his patience, never his greatest virtue, evaporates. Every hour wasted at Somosierra is an hour for the British to land more troops, an hour for Spanish reinforcements to arrive, an hour closer to winter trapping his army in the mountains. He has 45,000 men, but in this terrain, numbers mean nothing. He might as well have 45 million. At 10:30, Colonel Pire returns from the front with the news Napoleon refuses to accept.
Sire, it is impossible.
Colonel Pire. That word. That one word Napoleon cannot tolerate. He makes his decision, and he makes it in rage. The men of the 3rd Squadron, Polish light horse of the Imperial Guard, have been waiting behind the lines all morning. They are Napoleon's escort, elite cavalrymen selected for loyalty and skill. Now the Emperor is looking directly at them.
Nothing is impossible for my Poles. Take those cannons for me.
Napoleon Bonaparte. There is no debate, no clarification requested. The order is clear, and the Poles will obey it. But consider what Napoleon is asking. These 150 men are about to charge directly into 16 cannons, not around them, not after a barrage of their own artillery. Straight up the road, 4 abreast, because that's all the pass allows, into the mouths of the guns. And here is a detail often forgotten. These lancers had no lances. Not yet. Those would come later. On November 30th, 1808, the Polish light horse carried sabers, pistols, and nothing else. They would charge artillery with swords. Why would they do it? These were not conscripts, they were volunteers, Polish nobles who had joined Napoleon, believing that French victory would restore their homeland, partitioned and erased from the map by Russia, Prussia, and Austria. Every charge they made, every battle they won, was payment toward a debt Napoleon might someday repay: the resurrection of Poland. Squadron commander Jan Kozietulski forms his men into column. One last look at the fog-shrouded guns above. Then he gives his own order, the one that will be repeated in Polish cavalry messes for the next 2 centuries.
Forward, you sons of bitches! The Emperor is watching!
Jan Kozietulski. It is approximately 11 o'clock. The charge begins. The mathematics of the charge are brutal. A well-drilled cannon crew can reload in 90 seconds. A horse at full gallop covers 400 meters in 30. The Poles have one chance: close the distance before the second volley. If they slow down, they die. If they stop, they die. Speed is their only armor. Kozietulski leads from the front. The fog swallows them as they thunder toward the bridge. The first volley tears through the column like a scythe through wheat. Horses scream, men tumble. The rider beside Kozietulski simply vanishes. One moment there, the next gone in a spray of red. But the column doesn't stop. It can't. The survivors surge forward through the smoke and the fog, sabers raised. And then they're among the guns. Battery 1 falls in under 2 minutes, but there is no time to celebrate. 3 more batteries wait above. Kozietulski doesn't hesitate. He spurs his horse uphill toward Battery 2. The second battery fires. Kozietulski's horse goes down. He crashes to the ground, wounded but alive. Captain Jivanowski takes command without missing a stride.
Don't stop! Keep moving!
Battery 2 falls. Jivanowski takes a musket ball to the chest. He keeps riding. Lieutenant Nigoleski leads what remains, perhaps 50 riders, toward Battery 3. Spanish infantry are firing from the slopes now. The fog that blinded the gunners also hides how few Poles remain. To the defenders, it must seem like demons emerging from the smoke, unkillable, unstoppable. Battery 3 falls. Nikolewski takes a bayonet wound. He keeps fighting. One battery remains. At the summit stood the final battery, supported by a large body of Spanish infantry. The final position. By every measure of military logic, the charge should die here. 20 riders against 2,000. Sabers against artillery. But something breaks in the Spanish line. They have watched 3 batteries fall in minutes. They have heard the screaming, seen the fog light up with muzzle flashes, watched their comrades flee uphill with cavalrymen on their heels. They don't know that only 20 riders remain. They think the entire French army is coming. They fire one ragged volley, and then they run. The rout spreads like wildfire. 2,000 men streaming down the southern slopes. Officers abandoning their posts, cannons left loaded. Nikolewski reaches the summit. He is among the guns when a bayonet takes him in the side. Then another. Then another. 9 wounds in all. 2 musket balls to the head. He collapses beside the cannon he has taken. Silence falls over the pass. The guns are silent. The impossible is done. Napoleon rides up the pass. Around him, the debris of the charge. Dead horses, dead men, wounded crawling toward shelter. French infantry are already securing the summit, but the emperor has eyes only for one thing. There, beside the captured guns, lies Lieutenant Nikolewski, 11 wounds. The young officer is soaked in blood, his own and others. By any reasonable measure, he should already be dead. But his eyes are open. He sees the emperor. Napoleon unpins his own Legion of Honor, the medal on his own chest, and places it on the dying man's uniform. Nikolewski's whispered words will become legend. "Sire, here are your cannons." Lieutenant Nikolewski. In 8 minutes, 150 cavalrymen armed with sabers had captured 16 cannons, broken 9,000 defenders, and opened the road to Madrid. Against all doctrine, against all reason, against all odds. The cost of those 8 minutes was staggering. Of the 150 Poles who charged, 57 were dead or seriously wounded, more than 1 in 3. Nearly every officer had been hit. Koziatulski lay wounded at Battery 1, Jevanowski had taken a ball through the chest, and Nikolewski, with his 11 wounds, would somehow survive, carrying shrapnel in his body for the rest of his life, aching every winter until he died an old man in 1857. The Spanish losses were far worse. Estimates range from 200 to 2,000 dead and wounded, most cut down in the panicked retreat. All 16 cannons were captured, 10 regimental standards taken. The Army of the Center, Spain's last hope of stopping Napoleon before Madrid, was shattered and dispersed. 2 days later, the French army reached Madrid's outskirts. On December 4th, the capital surrendered. Joseph Bonaparte returned to his throne, though he would never sit comfortably on it. The Spanish ulcer would bleed for 5 more years. But on that day, Napoleon's gamble had paid off. As for General San Juan, the man who had built the perfect defense, he escaped the battle. But he did not escape Spanish rage. Days later, his own soldiers murdered him, blaming him for the defeat. A competent commander, given an impossible task, made the scapegoat for Napoleon's audacity. The charge at Somosierra lasted 8 minutes. Its echoes lasted far longer. Military academies studied it for generations, sometimes as an example of shock tactics overcoming firepower, more often as a warning that such success required a perfect storm of fog, speed, and enemy psychology that could never be reliably replicated. For Poland, Somosierra became something more, a sacred moment in the long struggle for independence. The blood shed in Spain was proof that Poles would fight when others said, impossible. that they would charge when others retreated, that their courage could be bought but never broken. Within a year, Napoleon equipped the Polish light horse with lances. They became the chevalier lancier, the model for lancer regiments across Europe. The weapon they lacked at Somosierra became their symbol. But the question remains, was Napoleon's order genius or madness? He saw what others missed, that the fog would blind the Spanish gunners, that speed could beat firepower, that the enemy's morale was fragile enough to shatter. Or perhaps he was simply gambling with lives he considered expendable, spending Polish blood to buy a faster road to Madrid. Perhaps both. Perhaps that's what made him Napoleon. 8 minutes, 150 sabers, 16 silenced cannons. The Poles had done what every military textbook said was impossible. The road to Madrid lay open. But the road to a free Poland? That would remain closed for another century. Some victories are bought with blood that earns no lasting reward, except immortality.